Hello and welcome, Miss Tolland and
Miss Davison.
We'll be analysing Eden Rock, a poem that I think some of you struggle a bit with because it is quite ambiguous, but you just have to remember that it is ambiguous. It's a good thing. It means that you can give your own interpretation of it.
Yes, and alternative interpretations are good.
Indeed. Right. Would you like to start us off, Miss Tolland?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Miss Davison. Right, okay, Eden Rock. So the word Eden hopefully reminds you of the Garden of Eden and therefore paradise. And so we wonder at this point whether his parents are in paradise or his parents are in heaven, something along those lines. And then you've got rock. So Eden Rock as a title, it makes you think of a real place, but the poet said that it is not a real place. But rock does make it seem like it is, and it's based on a memory, but it's not.
Absolutely, yeah. So the speaker in the poem seems to be almost reliving a memory, and then that memory itself becomes, in some sense, a metaphor for death or symbolic of death, which we see in the very beginning. So we've got, they are waiting for me somewhere beyond Eden Rock. So they are waiting in the present tense. It feels like he's reliving the memory and maybe implies that he and his parents are not truly separated by death, and that it's something that's ongoing and maybe an intense memory that you can relive in that way.
Yes, and then the phrase somewhere beyond, so beyond hopefully reminds you of the afterlife, but it does make it seem quite mysterious, and it is very vague, saying somewhere. Where is this somewhere? We don't know.
Which again links to the idea of the afterlife. And then we've also got my father, 25, in the same suit of genuine Irish tweed, his terrier Jack, still 2 years old and trembling at his feet. So the word same there and still implying the sense of almost a moment that's frozen in time. It contrasts with that sense of immediacy from the present tense, which again is ambiguous. Is it something frozen in time? Is it something being continuously relived? Again, it's open to interpretation.
Yes. Right, stanza 2, we've got my mother, 23, in a sprigged dress drawn at the waist, ribbon in her straw hat, has spread the stiff white cloth over the grass.
So again, my mother, 23, echoes the previous stanza. We had my father, 25. So possibly implying that strong connection between the mother and the father, the idea that they're together in death, possibly. And again, the idea that the emphasis on the ages, 23, 25, maybe an age that's considered the prime of your life, although Miss Holland and I were past it already.
Boo!
So maybe the idea that their youth has been restored in the afterlife.
Yeah. And again, we've got these very specific details. So we've got sprigged, we've got straw, we've got wheat. So like in the first stanza, the specific details maybe suggest that these are important or well-remembered things. So again, we've got the same thing here, like treasured memories. So it seems quite nice.
Yeah.
And she seems very wholesome, I've put, with the sprigged and the straw and the wheat.
And the wheat as
nice.
well, that kind of idea of like a staple, something, like you say, wholesome.
Yeah.
Sprigged, does sprigged mean it's got flowers on it?
Yeah, little sprigs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, good. And then takes on the light, so hair taking on the light, it gives a sense that she's kind of pure, ethereal or heavenly, which again links to the idea that she's in the afterlife. Possibly you could even say it suggests that she's almost saint-like. I wouldn't take it too far, but almost the idea of like a halo. But again, I wouldn't take it much further than that, than the idea that she's heavenly.
Yeah.
Right, and then in stanza 3, so we've got, she pours tea from a thermos, the milk straight from an old HP sauce bottle, a screw of paper for a cork. So again, we've got these kind of everyday domestic details, implies something kind of comforting, the idea of maybe reflecting on a childhood memory brings comfort, and maybe implies the importance of the everyday moments and memories, that these are the things he remembers, the ordinary domestic details. And again, links back to the idea of something quite wholesome.
Yeah, definitely. And even though they are separated, you've got this sense that everything is calm and peaceful, I suppose, because they are in heaven, maybe. So she's slowly setting out these plates, the 3 plates. So there's no rush for him. There's a sense that there's no rush for him to join them. But she is getting ready for him. And the fact that she's putting out the 3 plates maybe makes us think that she's preparing for him. Yeah. Maybe he is actually going to join them soon, and they're just waiting.
Yeah, and then we've got that word same repeated again, so again that sense of something that's continually happening. And I guess the idea that she's preparing what seems like a meal, that is often a way that heaven is described. So in Christianity, the idea that Jesus is preparing in heaven. So again, that sense of maybe him joining them in the afterlife. Right, and then the beginning of this stanza feels like a turning point in the poem. So it's where we're moving from an ordinary memory of a picnic to something that seems much more supernatural. So you've got this simile here, whitens as if lit by 3 suns. And often when you talk about the afterlife, you've got a sense of kind of going into the light. And 3 suns implies something unnatural, so again, the idea of something supernatural. The idea that it's slowly getting brighter, and maybe the idea that he is moving closer to death in some way.
Yes, the fact that we've got 3 suns as well might be, again, suggesting that he's going to be joining them soon, like the 3 plates in the earlier stanza.
Absolutely, yeah. So him joining his parents. Right, and then we've got, my mother shades her eyes and looks my way over the drifted stream. My father spins a stone along the water, leisurely. So stream and water here again, there's that link to the afterlife, so the idea of, in Greek mythology, crossing the river Styx into death, and then the Christian concept of purification by water, again linking to the idea of something holy, crossing over into death.
Yeah, and then again we've got this idea of it all being peaceful and calm, because we've got the stream is drifting, so drifted stream, and then we've got leisurely, obviously, and the fact that he is spinning a stone along the water is something that you do just to pass time. So again, he's not rushing for his, or he's not anxious for his son to actually arrive, he's just waiting patiently for that moment.
Again, the idea that there's no rush for him to die, to join them in the afterlife.
Right, final bit then, and we've got, they beckon to me from the other bank. So the word beckon is kind of suggesting that they're obviously calling to him, maybe they're asking him to join them in death. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, and then I hear them call, see where the stream path is, crossing is not as hard as you might think. So again, the idea that they want or are expecting him to join them, but there doesn't seem to be too much hurry about it.
Yeah, again, quite calm.
Crossing over, implying kind of a euphemistic sense of death, so nothing, it's not portrayed in a very traumatic way, it's portrayed in quite a peaceful way.
Yeah. A sense of guiding and reassuring him, that it's not difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So that idea of him crossing the stream in the memory, but then that being a metaphor or symbolic for death, for dying.
Fantastic.
And then this last line, which causes
exciting.
So much controversy. So I had not thought that it would be like this.
Yes,
what do you think, Miss Holland?
What is it? It could be death. So maybe he has died all of a sudden. It could be the separation between him and his parents. We don't know. There is no answer.
We don't know. I get the impression that it's quite positive. Maybe the idea that dying is easier or not as painful or traumatic as he might have thought it would be. But
I disagree. Okay, I think that, especially because it's monosyllabic, so I had not thought that it would be like this. It makes it sound quite blunt. I kind of feel like it's quite negative. Maybe he is, I don't know, distressed about death. Maybe he's sad about the separation. I think it's sad, miss.
Yes,
sorry.
And we could, again, we've had quite a peaceful tone throughout, but then that, especially the final line is a stanza by itself.
It's quite jarring.
It is quite jarring, and again, it could imply that maybe it's not the way that it's been described in the previous stanzas. Again, it's ambiguous. It's open to interpretation as long as you give evidence, like we just did, for your interpretation. I think you can interpret that in many different ways, but the main thing to remember is that it's ambiguous. And let's just talk about structure as well. This is a poem where you can analyse a lot of structural features.
Yep, so it's got a key part of the structural analysis is here. So the fact that you might want to call this a quatrain, even though you've got a little bit of a separation in there. And of course you can say that that reflects their separation, so the fact that his parents, or he is separated from his parents.
Yeah, and it's especially interesting because the previous stanzas have all been quatrains, have all been 4-line stanzas, and then in this final one we've got a break with the 3 lines and the 1 line by itself. We've also got, in terms of the rhyme scheme, so it's half rhymes in this poem, so it's it's an A-B rhyme scheme. Like here we've got bank, think, is, and this. So every other line half rhymes, which could imply the sense that there is a connection between the parents of the child, but again echoing that sense of separation, that it's only a half rhyme, it's not a full rhyme.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we were saying, weren't we, that this one has got more of a rhyme. Did you cover that?
Yes, so this one has got, so with bank and think, you've got two letters that are the same, and then is and this, again, two letters that are the same.
So it's a little bit closer.
A little bit closer, so possibly, again, the idea that he is joining them in death. But certainly that last separation, that last stanza there, is clearly meant to imply some kind of sense of separation or change, and it's open to interpretation, really.
Let's join them, or who knows? Who knows?
Exactly.
Okay.
Great.
I think we're done.
Indeed.